Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to SeahawkTalk and the Salve Athletics Network. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli, coming to you live on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. We've got a great show for you lined up here today. We're going to have Zech Klann, we're going to have David Lunn, and we're going to end the show with Cori Hughes. We're going to talk to our producers as well. We're going to talk about some great things, but first, like always, we want to remind you to keep your distance.
Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity. Better keep your distance. Better keep your vanity.
Social distancing is a great message, so great in fact that we're going to show it to you again.
Okay, welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Pizzelli. We're going to have a little bit of fun here on the show here today. Happy Halloween to everyone. Wishing that everyone has a happy and safe Halloween weekend. If we all practice the social distancing, hand washing, mask wearing, all that wonderful stuff we've been talking about, we can still have an enjoyable weekend. So if you couldn't make out what I said before, we have a great show for you lined up here today. We've got Zech Klann, David Lunn, and Cori Hughes. Can't wait to get to them. Going to try and go to producer Joey Morelli. Joey's having some camera issues, so I guess we should be able to hear from Joey. Joey,
Ooh, I'm
are
a
you
ghost today. Can you hear
there?
me?
Joey's a ghost today. Yes.
Yeah,
I can
my
hear you just
computer, I
fine.
turned it on and it was like, no, thank you. I had to restart the whole thing. I got back in time though. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh well, it is.
It is what it is, Joseph Morelli, Paisan.
They
Hopefully
did
later in the show we'll
massacred
be
my
joined.
boy.
Hopefully later in the show we'll be joined by Michael DeFusco. That'll be good.
So, anyways, Joey, I guess, I mean, we've been talking, I can't help but talk about, we've been talking about outdoor dining and the weather being on our side, hopefully this winter. Not today. I'm not sure
No.
what it's like in Newport here in Narragansett. It's basically a whiteout, which is surprising considering we all
Yeah.
expected rain. But yeah, I guess just our thoughts first on the fact that it's snowing here potentially on Halloween.
I wouldn't quite call it a whiteout here, but it's pretty not great. It's light-ish. It's just kind of gross and cold. Like it's not sticking to the ground or anything, and it's not the worst. But I was not prepared because my phone was like, it's raining. So I was like, okay. I was like prepared for rain, and then like I walked outside and my phone was like, haha, just kidding, it's snowing now. And I just wasn't ready for the cold. Like we've been talking about it all week. Mike brought it up on like Monday, and I still wasn't ready.
This is a great tweet here. This is from Sean Grandy, the play-by-play man for the Boston Celtics. He retweets this Boston tweet. Someone needs to tell 2020 to take its starters out. No need to keep running up the score.
That's actually really funny. It's a good joke.
Which is pretty accurate. Because the hits just keep on coming. Do you have anything? I'm sure maybe you were flummoxed here at the beginning of the show, Joey, trying to get your computer ready. But do you have
Well,
anything that you'd want to lead off the show with?
fortunately, I do, because I've been talking about it all week, and I was prepared to share whatever news it was. Is Governor Raimundo had her special coronavirus meeting thing today, and so we've got some new restrictions because certain groups of people aren't following them, I guess. So the main thing, the big deal, social gathering limit 15 down to 10, effective immediately, especially because Halloween's tomorrow. Just want to extra careful, and then also, I'm not gonna highlight that, it probably looks bad. Spectators are banned from youth sports for 2 weeks. Indoor sports facilities are closed for a week starting Monday, which is interesting. I didn't see that one coming. And then houses of worship are asked to offer virtual services. And also about like hospitals and nursing homes are going to try to put new restrictions on visiting. And that's basically it. Like she said, reverting to phase 2 was a plan, but it seems like we're not going to do that just because we don't want to, overkill.
Yeah, don't need to go all the way back, but
it says here like doesn't want to hurt the
close.
economy. we're close,
She's had
but
it up
like
to here.
yeah. What else was there in here? Most new cases are just informal gatherings where people aren't wearing masks or distancing. A few people got to ruin it for everyone else. And yeah, that's basically it. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe like Monday, or I guess probably Wednesday's the next meeting. We're gonna get really good news. She's gonna be like, look at everybody did Halloween, great. Nobody got sick. Yay. Like we're gonna have some big, like there was no cases from the weekend, something fun like that maybe.
Hopefully.
Because I choose to believe that Rhode Islanders are being good. We're being good at Salve. Salve's good.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah. This is actually a little bit of news. This actually just came out in the last 20 minutes. According to the Newport Daily News, I'll go ahead and might as well just share this screen while I'm at it. Newport Daily News reports that Middletown High School will be closed until November 17th after 4 cases of COVID-19 were identified this week. So, this one obviously this is right in the backyard. But Newport is going to have to close. Now, let's go ahead here. I'll leave that up and I'll go and try and skim this article. I'm not sure if that means closed, or if, hey, we're sending them all home to transition to virtual learning. School officials notified 2 additional cases on Friday after experiencing back-to-back cases in consecutive days earlier this week. It looks like... Yeah, they're just going to transition to learning remotely. So that'll, at least this is kind of, it's like the weird benefit of having had to go through all this stuff in the spring. People
They're already prepared,
ready just to say, hey, go home, and we're just going to transition into doing things remotely. So that's
go home.
Now,
that's what you want to hear.
Yeah. Now, Joey, unfortunately, we don't have your camera set up.
For those that don't know, I'm a very superstitious man. I'm dressed up as Don Corleone.
If we could see you right now, what had you planned to dress up here?
I had that in the chat. I had just typed that up. So the idea was, back in my freshman year, I was Scarecrow from Batman. And then this year, I didn't have any like costume stuff because, instead Corona. But I brought what is the mask that I had for that, and I have it in my hands, and if my camera was on, you could see it. And I took some stuff out of the costume shop at the Casino Theater, and I was just being like a regular kind of Scarecrow. Was the idea. That's what I did for Stage Fright. We had a little Halloween cabaret, a little socially distanced Halloween cabaret.
Joey, is you'll have to take some pictures on your phone and somehow bring them into the...
Put it on my computer and then share my screen.
Put them on the computer. And share your screen or drop them into the into our branding thing, and we can at least give the people what they want, which is to know what
my friend Joseph Morelli is wearing for Halloween.
So, Joey, I'm gonna let you continue to be behind the scenes here. Ooh,
spooky ghost.
Joey Morelli, spooky Joey,
disembodied voice.
Disembodied voice. I'm going to let you continue to work behind the scenes, and we're going to get to our first guest. So I'll talk to you and
Alrighty.
hopefully maybe see you somehow
I will
at
try
the
to
end of the
restart my
show.
camera in the meantime.
Alrighty.
All right.
All right. That's Joey Morelli, the voice from the ether, one of the producers here on Seahawk Talk. We're going to go to our first guest, head coach Zech Klann of our men's ice hockey team. Zech,
How you doing?
Andrew, how are you? You're looking pretty dapper today.
I'm taking a page out of your book. This should be the new game day look. Maybe this is how I'll call games from now on.
I like it. The camel coat. I might have to pull the camel coat back out.
So I'm going to start right there before we get into the boring stuff, practice, restrictions, all that stuff.
Let's talk about being superstitious, because I am a superstitious man. I know you can be a superstitious man.
What are some sports superstitions that you've had? You brought up the camel coat. And what are the worst ones that you've ever seen or been around? Because there can be some really bad ones.
How much time do we have here?
Go.
No,
you got plenty of time. Take as long as you want.
Plenty of time. I think one of my just game day rituals. Let's see here. I always wear it. I'll wear a tie. If we win with the tie, I'll wear it the next night. That's just a little superstitious I have. Or I'll wear a tie color of the opposite team.
Oh, that's interesting. Tie color. So how did that start? Wearing the tie color from the team.
That's just an old coaching one. It's kind of amongst coaches. A lot of guys do it. So
And
I picked it up. That one's not too big for me, but and I'll have a Snickers bar before for each game.
The Snickers bar. Now, what about worst ones that you've either seen or been around? What are some? I mean, I know I've played with guys who didn't wash socks or worse. If we
Sure.
were on a winning streak, any of those.
I'd say the worst one. I played with a guy in Sioux City that he would put his equipment all over the dressing room, and he'd go grab one piece, bring it back to his stall, put it on, go grab another piece. So he was pretty bad. He got the guys gave it to him a little bit, but that was probably the most out there superstition I ever saw or was around.
That's more like obsessive compulsive than gross. So at least
Absolutely.
that's good. At least that's good.
Absolutely.
Let's get to your team now. Where you guys stand with practice? Will you be impacted by this? Governor Raimondo saying no indoor sports facilities. Is that going to impact your practice plan?
Right now, so I'm waiting to hear. I believe that NCAA sports there is a waiver for that. So I believe the collegiate sports are allowed to continue to practice. I know that they are going to shut rinks down for 1 week starting Monday in the state of Rhode Island for youth programs, men's leagues, things like that, just to kind of get ahead of things that have happened in mass. But I believe that we're going to still be able to stay within our pods and continue to practice.
Okay. How has practice looked? So basically, you've gotten a week now to be out on the ice with these guys. How has that gone so far?
It's been awesome. Just to be able to get out there with the guys and touch pucks and get moving a little bit. You definitely see a little bit of jam that the guys have, and it's been a long time coming. So just to get everybody out there and moving again, and we're not able to get the whole team out there, but the pods that we have set up, we're able to get out there and be productive, and get better as a team here, and just get our legs underneath us for when they open things up and we can get out there as a full group.
Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of discussion in the world of sports this week from some fallout from the World Series about the role of analytics in sports. Now, hockey isn't so much, analytic driven because the game happens so fast. You don't get to stop and think and make decisions on the ice. You're just going. But how has analytics impacted hockey, and maybe how have you seen it affect the game in your time?
It's I know we touched on it, but it's definitely a huge part, of the game today. The software that we're able to use, not only breaks down, shifts, but it'll give, face-off wins percentage for each guy, puck possession time, turnovers. So, at the end of a game, you can always go that and use that as a good reference for, areas that we struggled. areas that we need to improve on, and then also areas that we're doing very well and need to continue to build on. So for us, it really breaks things down and gives us the opportunity to see what we need to continue to work on in practice and what we need to spend some more time on, in the practice times rather than just, kind of flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah. So you see it as a lot of coaches do, as a guide. The more information you have, the better. Not something where, like what we saw happen in the World Series and what the Rays have done, where, hey, we're just beholden to the algorithm here. It says take this guy out even though he's dealing right now. That I don't think would ever happen in hockey. You wouldn't hey, a goalie's pitching a shutout, but our analytics say in the final 5 minutes against such and such opponent, let's throw the backup in. Like that could never happen in hockey, right?
No. A thing that we use, we use it. It breaks down, which guy is better on the right side, the left side, his percentage in the defensive zone, the offensive zone. So when it does come down to the end of a game, statistically we can see it and say, this guy struggled in the D zone on the right side, and that's where the face-off is now. So we can, know and just take a quick look. We have all those stats down, with us. So, we can just take a quick look and see who our best guy in that particular part of the ice has been.
Interesting. I wanted to get to something here at the end. We saw this week, just I think yesterday or 2 days ago, the tragic passing of Travis Roy, someone who's very well known in the hockey community. He got hurt in his first collegiate game in 1995, paralyzed, and then used that as there was no excuse. He used it to bring awareness to people who are disabled or paralyzed, and just so much work off the ice, and had a tremendous impact in the entire sports world. I just want to maybe get your thoughts on Travis's passing, who he was as a person. If you ever got to meet him or anything like that, I'm just asking you questions off the cuff here. I'm not sure what the answers will be, but any thoughts you have on Travis Roy?
No, it's a very sad day, yesterday for the hockey world, with the passing of Travis. It was almost 25 days or 25 years to the day that he was paralyzed, 11 seconds into his first ever, college shift at Boston University. So, growing up in New England, that was a very big deal. It was all over the place, and the hockey world is so small that, he was, what he did afterwards, for all the adversity that he had to, the days or years of rehab, to be able to, start the Travis Roy Foundation, to become a motivational speaker, to, go around to not only hockey teams, but other athletic teams and schools to talk. It just shows the character that he had, that he had in his life. He was going to try to make everybody around him better, and give back to the community, not only the hockey community, but everybody around him. So he was a great person, and for what he went through and to do what he did, it speaks very highly of his character. And I know that his loved ones and his friends will miss him, and so will the hockey community.
Absolutely. Couldn't really say it much better than that. Zech, thank you so much for your time here today. Good luck with practice, whatever you guys can get sorted out here. But hope things go well the rest of the way, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Happy Halloween, and stay safe, and I'll talk, Andrew. Thank you.
All right. That is Zech Klann, the head coach of our men's ice hockey team. We're going to go now to the head coach of our women's ice hockey team, Coach David Lunn. David, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hey guys, doing well. How you doing?
Good. I want to ask you the same question I started with Coach Klann. I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
Sports superstitions. Fitting, because I'm a superstitious man in my outfit here today.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Halloween, all of that superstition type of stuff. What are any of yours? And then what are, say, maybe the worst you've ever seen or been around?
Oh, it make me think here. Some of mine, when I played, I was pretty set on my routines and how I got ready and how I focused. So I had a kind of a regiment, starting well before the game and stretching and dialing it in, and the music I listened to, or at least, the genre and so on and so forth. So I was pretty regimented there. And I found some consistency in the way I played with that, kind of agenda. In terms of the weirdest, oh man, I don't even know. I don't know. That's a good one. I know, like, cold showers, hot showers. The boys, some of my guys would soak in there for a good half hour, some of them, before getting ready for a game. So those aren't weird, but maybe a little unusual in terms of other sports that are around.
I wanted to ask you, I talked to Zech about this as well. There's been a lot of discussion this week about the role of analytics in sports.
Yep.
Hockey, maybe not so much analytic driven the way, say, basketball or baseball especially could be. And even
Sure.
football now has kind of gotten that. Some of it has soaked into the game. But how have you seen analytics? How has it become part of hockey? And what do you think its role will be in the future?
Yeah. I mean, I think analytics in the game of hockey is here. It's here to stay. It's very budding. I don't think it's anywhere quite what it was or what it is in baseball, or any other sport for that matter. But it's definitely here. People are there in a lot of pro organizations. There's a lot of positions being made specifically for that. I actually had an opportunity to sit in on a conference, an analytics hockey conference specifically, over the last year, about a year or so ago, actually a little bit longer now, over at RIT. Very interesting stuff, way over my head. Some very intelligent people discussing algorithms and a lot of mathematical equations that that people are paying money for. That's why guys like Kyle Dubas have jobs, and they have people under them that can put people in place that can give them that little bit of 1% edge that can, hopefully win you some more hockey games. And I think it's important, but I don't think it's the end all be all. There is an art to coaching. There is an art to, just management of players and personnel. But when properly incorporated, analytics can definitely help you, either figure out a solution, solve a problem, or communicate with a player better, or communicate with your staff better, whatever the case may be. There's definitely a useful tool for it, but it's not, it's not the Swiss Army knife of tools that should be used in an organization.
That's interesting. Now, so some of the stuff that was discussed at that conference, like what are the
Sure.
hockey analytics? Zech kind of talked about, there's situational stuff maybe for late game face-offs, things like that. What guy's good from, say, one side or another. But what are some of the other deeper analytics that you could use? Because I think about hockey, it happens so fast. You don't have time to think, yeah, we really want to focus on taking threes this game the way that you do in basketball. What are the analytics that get used that could really impact the way the game is played?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about wins and losses. How can you affect the outcome of the game is basically what the strategy is. So just incorporate, and you can take any statistic, you can take any kind of detail of the game and try to manipulate it within an equation to see how it affects the outcome of a game. Whether it be some abstract ideas, maybe be like, cutback, for instance. How many times in comparison to a zone entry cutback are you going to be more advantageous to winning a game as opposed to just simply dumping and chasing, over the blue? Where are we, and then that you can extrapolate that and go, are we a team that executes this better than the other, and how does that affect our outcome of the game? Or how does that affect, another statistic, time of possession or shots on goal? Those are some of the bigger, kind of more widely known statistics that are kept track of. But now it's starting to dig into those more and compare the two, contrast the two, or bring in even more variables and compare and contrast. So it can get really deep in the rabbit hole in terms of where that stuff goes.
Do you plan to, down the line? I mean, obviously, everybody right now is just trying to get through coronavirus and practicing with the team. But do you envision a world where you're using analytics here at Salve, or are you going to be a more traditional eyes and ears coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to trust your eyes and ears. That's that's first and foremost. You got to have you got to have experience with that and trust your gut as a coach. I like analytics. I think they're useful. I try to incorporate as much as they can. There's obviously certain restrictions and certain things that go along with that. But I think a good program incorporates them well. But again, it's not the end all be all. The eye and ear test is it should be your go-to. And then on top of that, you work in those analytics to help bolster your ideas or contrast your ideas, or however you're trying to approach a situation or topic. But I feel that those are important. They'll definitely be incorporated here. But that at this point in time, with what's going on, is kind of further down the list of importance.
Yeah. So let's talk about the team and practice, how things been going, with the group on the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been on the ice in pods for about a week and a half now, a little over a week and a half. Things are going well. We're off, definitely some rust that was left on the ice in the first couple of skates. But it was just a good experience to, for me personally, to be on the ice with the women and, get to see them move. It was my first time, really observing them in person on the ice, and kind of starting to build that relationship, them getting to know me and my style and what I expect and how I run and conduct things. So I think that, we're still kind of in that process, a little bit of feeling each other out, but I definitely saw improvements from last week to this week, which is good. You always like to see that, they're starting to understand the concepts that I'm trying to coach and teach and the points I'm trying to get across. And, it's gonna be a process for sure. It's gonna take some time, but so far so good. We're off to a good start.
Yeah. I asked Zech this as well. How do you foresee the impact with the governor's new restrictions and maybe some rolling back of things? How is that going to impact you guys practice-wise, since you are an indoor sport?
Yeah, so I heard a little bit of what Zach was saying too, and I hope we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can fall under that university kind of stipulation guideline, if you waiver, if you will. I know that Mass instituted something very similar, where universities and the professional ranks were exempt from, from that no hockey for 2-week period. So I'm hoping that we can stay under that umbrella as well, but we've been resilient and adapted to this point. So if it comes down to it where we're shut down too, we'll still be active. We'll be training, we'll be practicing as best we can with the given circumstances, so that we don't fall too far behind from where our progress could have been had we been on the ice for that amount of time.
Yeah. And lastly, David, I'm going to ask you too about Travis Roy. Any thoughts you have on what he meant to the world of hockey and of his early passing?
Yeah, absolutely. Tragic. Feel for the family and those that knew Travis personally. I did not. I'm a Midwest boy, born and raised. I was trying to think where I was when that whole thing went down. I was probably still like in middle school, elementary school, but I definitely knew it when it happened. It was big headline news, and you kind of take a step back, like, well, that's some pretty serious stuff. And you see the replays and the incidents, and you're like, wow, that could absolutely happen to me. I've probably been in that scenario before. I just had a different outcome or whatever the case may be. So, it's scary to think that that's what happened, but what he was given, it's hard to say. So it's what he was given, and what he did with that opportunity, if you want to call it that, or that circumstance, that situation, is, commendable, is admirable. I think that it takes a special person to be able to continue to do and push the topics and agenda that he was trying to accomplish with his given circumstances. Anyone could have easily just, packed it in and felt sorry for themselves and, this, that, and the other. But he found a positive and a negative, and found his life mission to continue with his goals, with his agenda, and trying to raise money and bring light to the situation. So I think that's top of my book for sure.
Awesome, David. Thank you so much for coming on here today. Good luck with the rest of the week. Hopefully, like you guys said, you can fall under that umbrella and keep staying on the ice, keep knocking off more of that rust. And can't wait to talk to you again next week.
You got it. All right, Pez. Keep looking sharp, buddy.
Thank you. That is David Lunn, the head coach of our women's ice hockey team. We're going to go now to the head coach of our women's basketball team to close out this week's programming. Coach Cori Hughes. Welcome to the show, Cori. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm good.
All right. Trying to stay warm. Snow.
I know. Luckily, I'm like sweating through the suit now. I think it was a good idea when it started, but now I'm a little too hot. Your team, we've spoken a lot about all of the wonderful things that your team has tried to, the way you've approached this coronavirus situation about developing your team as people more so than athletes, given the situation you're in. There's so many things you guys have gotten involved in, and the university as well is jumping on the backs of that and doing that. So I'm just going to let you talk. I think the first thing you wanted to mention was the silent walk for equality. So I'm going to let you expand on that.
Well, so that was supposed to actually happen on Thursday, but because of the weather, got postponed till Monday. And the reason that I really wanted to talk about it is simply I wanted to put it out there to remind people that it was going to be on Monday at 2:00, start at Gary Hall. And, it's an important issue. It's been politicized, and I think that's unfortunate. And the reason I just wanted to talk about it was because I want people to show up. I'm going to show up. And I really hope I do see other coaches there as well as the student athletes, because just being there speaks volumes, right? Nobody's going to talk. It's a silent walk. I'm going to have my sign. It's going to have a meaningful message. And it's just a way to let those around you know that we're in this together and that we're all concerned about it. And I just think it's just vitally important that we do it. So I just wanted to mention it. And please show up, bring your sign, and just be counted, right? Be counted. So
yeah. That's Monday. Tuesday's election day.
Yeah.
Big day.
And that's another thing, right? I said there are like 3 things I think I mentioned that had nothing to do with basketball, right? And I just wanted to again remind people, if you have not voted, to make sure that you do. The day is a day off for all the students on campus. So, get out there and make it count. And, most of our students don't have that far to go. So if they could not do it, absentee ballot, mail in, if they haven't had an opportunity to, vote early, take the time to make the drive. That's what I have to say. Take the time to make the drive and vote, because it counts. And I think we talked about this in the past. People have said to me, Rhode Island doesn't count, right? In the big scheme of things, Rhode Island doesn't count because we don't have that many, votes, and also we don't get that many any say in the matter, basically, right? We seem to go one way most of the time as well. And so I think people just discount us, but it matters to me, and it matters to the other people in the state, and it matters to local politics and local laws. And so those people that say it doesn't count don't know what they're talking about. It counts. Every single vote counts, even if it just counts to you and the people around you. That matters. It matters. So please go out and vote.
Yeah, we've said that. I mean, part of the issue, if you want to really have change, you can't. Change isn't just going to happen from the top down. There's a lot of things that you can change locally, and that's where it starts with your local representatives and local senators, and town councils, mayors, judges, all of that sort of stuff. That's all local. So even if you're thinking, hey, we're Rhode Island, we've got 2 little electoral votes that usually all vote one way. You gotta if you want change, you have to vote for it locally as well. So that's
absolutely. And actually, I found, and I don't know if I said this last time, but I voted absentee ballot, and it really did afford me a lot more time to do research on the people I was voting for. A lot of times you walk into the booth and then you see all these names, and you might not have had enough time to actually take a look at who they were, especially locally. They just don't have the kind of budgets to really have any kind of campaign that gets out there to the masses. And so by doing absentee ballot, I found that it really afforded me an opportunity to be a little bit more thoughtful about who I was voting for. Yeah. So I don't know. I might be looking to do that more often if I can. We'll see.
One of the other non-basketball related items, is the suicide prevention walk. We've spoken, not just me and you, but me and Joey have mentioned on the show a number of times. We've brought into light mental health issues and the importance of bringing awareness to those. Talk about the suicide prevention walk.
So we were approached by actually one of Megan Harden's, boy, that's a blast from the past. Megan Hennigan's friends, who was also a women's tennis player, and asked us if we would participate. And, I'm not going to get into personal stories about, our family, meaning the women's basketball family, but we do have a member of our family that has struggled with thoughts of suicide and actually had a plan, which is a step that is a huge step towards actually doing it. And, this individual talked very candidly about that before we stepped out and had that walk. And it's a very difficult thing to do, to talk about probably the lowest moment in your life and be fearful of judgment or pity or whatever else you want to put on that. But they did it, they talked about it candidly. And the most important thing that this individual talked about was that there's help, that we all can help each other, to look for signs, to know that you're not alone, to know that a lot of people feel desperate in that way. And when this individual talked about it, you could see it really hit home with the other people standing in that circle, And I will add to that, and I say this all the time, it gets better. If I have a message for somebody that's thinking about something like that, it gets better. It really does. And I actually was thinking, somebody was talking about how it was actually a professor here. He was saying that college is the best time of your life. And it's very, frustrating for these individuals, because this is supposed to be the time that they're having the best time of their life, and everything goes downhill from there, type of thing. And I would say, I actually said, I disagree with that. My life has actually gotten better and better and better, so when I say that, I come from a very sincere place that things get better, and to think that this is the best it can be is selling yourself very, very short. And so there's resources, there are people that care about you. You're not alone. And then to those that love somebody, and we all do, look for signs, be available, and just try to help them get the help that they need. So it's a very personal thing to my team. And so I just wanted to speak to it. And then we did the walk, and I felt like it was a very unifying, team building thing after hearing this individual talk about their struggles. Just getting out there and just taking a 3-mile walk together, and just being present was powerful, I think. So
Probably could have gone for a 10-mile too.
yeah, seriously, it felt like it after that. You wanted to just kind of take the bull by the horns and just take advantage of the day. So it was nice. It was nice to be together, and it felt like we were supporting this person, even though they were in a better place than they were, obviously, when they were contemplating suicide. It still felt like we were supporting them. So
Yeah.
it was a terrible and wonderful day.
Yeah. Let's get to the basketball stuff.
Yeah.
I won't be able to say anything better than the way you just
No.
said it. So let's talk about your freshmen. Everybody's talking about the freshmen. It could be the hardest year ever to be a freshman. How have you seen them handle the situation and progress now that you've had time to work with them?
Yeah, it's interesting because in some ways and I might be very misguided here, but it seems like they don't know what they're missing, right? So
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So, you got these freshmen coming in, and yes, they probably had very lofty expectations, and things have not turned out the way that they probably thought. But I think the sophomores have it a little bit more difficult, right? Because they had the college experience, and then it got taken from them. And so, these freshmen kind of don't know what they're missing, type of thing. But I'm actually really pleased with the progression. And there's interesting, we were doing a lot more individual competitive competition type stuff in practice. So I'll make teams, and then individuals will go head to head in different competitions, whether it's like a dribble suicide or it's the ladder or it's taps, and so they have to pick somebody from their individual team to go head to head. And so I have 5 freshmen on the team, and when they went head to head, they never went against another freshman. It just turned out that they were going against upperclassmen, and 3 out of 4 won their competition. And the fifth, would have won it, but she didn't touch the line. She was like that far away from the line. Her foot didn't touch it, so it didn't count. So I was like, these upperclassmen, you better show up because you just got embarrassed by some freshmen, right? So I think that, again, they're progressing pretty well. We haven't got to see them actually play basketball yet, but skill-wise, they're, stepping up, and I see improvement. They're coachable. They're excited, and beyond just the freshmen, the team's still excited, which makes me happy. It's going to be a long wait till we can actually start to bang bodies and play games. And I keep envisioning the day they're going to come in and not want to hear my voice anymore and just be like, if I can't play, I'm going to explode. So far, they're showing up and they're getting after it. And again, I think there's a gratitude to just be able to be here. There are other places that have already said we can't do this. I think that we're really doing a pretty good job as a department, but I'll speak individually as my team because that's who I'm with every day. But the joke now is they're putting their hands out because I'll say disinfect, and they'll put their hands out, and I'll come around and spray everybody's hands like in between drills. We got it down. I got spray bottles all over the gym. We got the wet wipes all over the balls, and I might be being a little bit over the top, but I'd rather be on the safe side always. It only takes a second to spray your hands off and wipe the ball down, and the consequences if you don't could be very dire. So I think that we're doing a pretty good job trying to stay on top of it, and we're doing everything that we can do while we're together. We are progressing. We're making steps forward, and the freshmen I'm impressed. I'm impressed with how they're really coachable and really getting it. They're understanding the things I'm asking them to do. They're making strides, and you can see it. So far, so good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and I kind of agree with you how the sophomores probably have it harder because they know what they had and now they don't have it. It'll be interesting down the line when this current group of freshmen throughout, not just Salve, but anywhere, when that group is seniors and think about the things, the experiences and the things they'll be able to draw upon from off the court and then learning college basketball this way, then hopefully next year it's normal. What that group of seniors will look like could be very interesting, from a mental toughness standpoint.
Agreed. I keep thinking about this time for all of us and how obviously this is going to shape a generation, right? I mean, this is going to be the thing that we're all talking about. And, kids are going to be talking about it to their kids about, in 2020, we had this terrible pandemic. I mean, this is changing the way we live in such a fundamental way. It's remarkable, and it's touching everyone. It's funny. I heard a little bit of the conversation that you had with Coach Lund just before I came on, and I actually watched Governor Raimondo's news conference, and that's one of the things that she said was just that nobody is, or I should say everybody's being touched by it, that nobody can escape it, and whether it's just that you lost a job, your kids can't go to school, you can't get daycare now, you don't have enough sanitizer. I mean, it could be you lost somebody that you love. I mean, all of us are affected. And then all these kids are too. And this is going to be things that we're going to talk about, and something that we survive and makes us better and stronger. And I hope it makes us come together because I think that we are in a lot of ways as a people coming together. More people than not are coming together in this and trying to help each other and doing the right thing and thinking of others. And it's a terrible way to learn a lesson, but I talked about this, and I went and spoke in a class, and that is that, in an evolutionary sense, our ability to work together is what made us get here in the first place. If we were a people or a being of any sort that could not work together, we wouldn't be here right now anyway. It's what got us here. And I just hope that we continue to remember that, because it's what makes us different than every other animal, right? Our ability to thoughtfully and in grand ways, right? With thousands and millions of people doing the same thing. Animals work together all the time, right? But you don't see a million animals doing the same thing.
True.
You don't. You see small groups. The difference with people is that we can work in huge ways to make big changes. And so this is something that's a test for us, I think. I hope we pass.
Probably better for us people that animals don't do things in the millions, or
We'd
else
be in
aside from
we'd
bugs,
be in a lot
we'd be
of
in a lot
trouble.
of trouble. If a
We'd be in
million
a
bears
lot
and
of
lions and
trouble.
tigers banded together, I think the rest of us would be, we've all seen Planet of the Apes. We don't need
Absolutely.
that to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. I worry about the birds. I worry about the birds. Just don't
Yes.
get the birds together. We're all sorts of trouble.
Yes. I want to pull up a clip that you sent me.
Had you seen it before?
I hadn't seen. Well, at first I thought, well, I mean, I've seen this happen in San Antonio Spurs games.
Yeah.
I've seen things like this happen before.
Yeah.
So I think I can make this full screen. I can. So this is a Stanford practice. So I'm just gonna let the clip run. So I'll let everybody see it first, and then I want to get your thoughts afterwards. I think it should loop for us. If not, I'll just keep playing it. And
Yeah.
I like how it's just gonna loop. The girl on the baseline, I think she could have had a chance to step in there, but I think she thought better of it. There, she's nah, never mind. I'm gonna be in the poster. She's taken off. What do you see here in this play, and why did you want to highlight this specifically?
Well,
aside
number
from it
one,
being awesome.
Well, first of all, it just makes you grab your head and say, "What?" When she just throws it down, right? You just don't see on an everyday basis, a woman, coming in from the 3-point line and taking a one-handed dunk and just knocking it down somebody's throat. But it's something that we talk about, not dunking coming from the 3-point line, but in practice, we talk a lot about faking and how to get your defender off balance. And so that was the first thing that I noticed, just that beautiful fake to get her defender to stand. And then also, just as, of course, I have to watch it as a coach. Look at the beautiful spacing on the break.
Yeah.
Look at them all. Look at all the space it affords her to get into the lane. But, that's the coach speaking, looking at them fill the lanes, looking at the spacing, looking at this individual player, nice head and shoulder fake, and then just like 2 dribbles and then dunking it. As a fan of basketball, in particular women's basketball, you got to say, dude, that's sick, right? That's just a beautiful play and a beautiful athletic move. So I had to share it.
You guys retweeted that and just said nasty. Don't have to say anything else. It's just nasty.
Absolutely. Yeah. Just love it. So, I mean,
Awesome.
I think the women's game has, continuing to grow, and in 20 years ago, you wouldn't have seen this in even a Stanford practice, so we just continue to grow as athletes and basketball players. And it's fun to see women at this level, which is the highest level of college. Stanford is always fabulous. They have great players and they have a fabulous coach. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their practices. So I had to share that. It's beautiful.
Last question, because I asked this of Zech and of David, and I think it's more applicable to basketball, and we've seen it. How has analytics affected your game, and what do you think its role should be? Because I don't think anybody would ever argue that, I'm sure there is bad information, but the more information you have that can help you make decisions is good. Letting that information make the decisions for you, kind of where some people get off the train, so to speak. Like what we saw happen in the World Series. Your thoughts on the role of analytics in sports and how it is affecting your sport, even at your level?
Yeah, and I do think basketball is a good example of that, because it has been utilized for a long time, but it's been a have and have not kind of scenario, and it still is. I mean, if you can be submersed and drowned in information, if you don't have resources to analyze it in a way that's useful, it's just a bunch of information that you're drowned in. So having useful information having a staff and the time to analyze the information, those two things are really important. And I think at our level, we don't always have those resources. So having a, like for example, we now have a new film processing tool that we use. The league uses it, and it gives us so much information. But I simply don't, with me and 2 part-time staff members, have a lot of time to use all of that information in a way that would be wonderful. And I do agree with what you're saying regarding using that information. I think when you start to take out the human aspect of it and taking a look at what you have as people, numbers are numbers, right? So you have to take a look at the people you have and take a look at those numbers and combine those things. What can you get out of them? When I was coaching probably 15 years ago, and I wasn't at Salve, it might have even closer to 20, there was a guy that was really into stats, and he would give me all sorts of stats after every game. And he would tell me about how we out-rebounded our opponent and how we did this and but we still lost. Like, you can make stats look any way you want. One of the things he told me is whenever we score over a certain amount, we win. And whenever we keep our opponents below this amount, we win. And I said, so when we score more points than them, we win. At some
Thanks,
point,
John Madden.
Exactly. At some point, the stats are just numbers. I think they can be a tool just like anything else, but they need to be used with a human element. And I don't think that anything can ever take away the importance of understanding your personnel and having relationships with your players. Having that information with that, invaluable, right? But if I had to choose between the two, I would choose having the relationship with my players and understanding their ability in a human way. Give me both. Give me both. If I could have both, that would be fabulous. And we're doing that. We're learning how to use the tools better. We're figuring out what statistics and what kind of analytics are useful and what we can live without. But I think the programs are going to get better. You know that, right? So pretty soon they're going to do a lot of that work that the coaches are doing for them, figuring out how we can actually use those numbers, and we don't have to do that. And once they do that, you don't need all the manpower to figure that out, and that will be great for us. A place like us that just doesn't have the resources that another school does, especially when you're talking about professional teams and Division I teams and stuff like that really get to utilize it. I know I've been talking a lot. We've gone a while, but there is something that they talk about on the NCAA, about having those, iPads and laptops and stuff on the sideline for real-time stuff. I can't even imagine that right now. I mean, we struggle to get a towel when there's sweat on the floor. And we're talking about whether or not it's okay to have an iPad. Baby steps for I think the smaller schools like us and many other schools. It's not like there's just one Salve in the world. I mean, you can't swing a dead cat around here without hitting the school. So a lot of us are in the same boat. And I think the more that those programs can become smarter, the more small schools like us can use them. And that would be great. That would be great. Then it'll level the field a little bit for the ones that don't have a lot, like us.
Last quick thing, the way analytics has impacted basketball has been the reliance on the three-point shot, over reliance. I would say cue up that clip we just watched with the pump fake of the three and a
Absolutely.
dunk. Analytics would say that was a bad shot. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think
Absolutely.
analytics don't take into account the momentum that dunk would give you, right?
Absolutely. And there's a lot, I understand the love and also the usefulness of the three-point shot statistically as well. But there's so much in between the two things that like we're talking about, three-point shots and that dunk, that's not utilized, that's actually just easy pickings. A player like Allegra Lavoie that scored 1,300 points here, she probably scored about 800 of them as a pull-up jump shot. Yeah. So yeah, you can talk all day about how useful and statistically valuable three-point shooting is and all that, but there is the momentum of it. There's also the skills of your players. You can say that it's great to have 3-point shooting, and it's important. If you don't have 3-point shooters, it doesn't really matter now, does it? You also have to be good at that too. And you can take a lot of 3-point shots and still not be a great 3-point shooter. So it's nice to know that that's something that you would aspire for, but you got to look at your personnel and see, okay, well, that's great, but I have great post pairs and I want to pound the ball inside, or we just don't have great range, or we got one 3-point shooter. I mean, those things happen. Every kid thinks they're a 3-point shooter because they shoot threes, but do they go in? Unless they go in without anybody guarding you in a good percentage, chances are when you're being guarded, they're not going to go in. So I would rather have you make that pump fake and get to the rim. And if you can't dunk it, just lay it in and score a layup.
If that's the case, then I'm not a point guard. I am a power guard then. That's where my shots go in. I think this will be good food for thought. We can have this conversation next week, expound upon it.
Definitely.
Is how things are cyclical. The leagues become focused on 3-point shooting and perimeter. All that's going to do is down the road is it's going to swing back the other way. There's going to be people adapting. Hey, guards don't know how to play defense in the post anymore, or people don't know how to defend pick and roll at the free throw line. So, let's do those sort of things. So,
and even now I find that the posts in the women's game are, there's certain teams that really utilize their posts, but a lot of post play has gone away. And it's interesting that when you have a traditional post player, other teams have problems defending them, have problems with that in general. And so, I think you're right. I think that when things start to go away, it's another weapon that you can go back to because nobody is using it. And so I still think that there's a lot of places to score and there's a lot of ways to be good, and we should try to utilize all of them. Don't put all your ducks in one all your eggs in one basket. So
I wouldn't put all your ducks in one basket either.
Me neither.
They might band together. We don't want the ducks banding together.
I already told you I'm afraid of the birds getting together. So.
All right, Cori. I think we spoke for about almost 40 minutes, and it went by like that. So I always it's not a bad thing. It's always great. I love your insights. Always a great conversation and a way to close out our week and head to the weekend.
One more thing I just want to say, Mr. Roy, rest in peace.
Yes.
It's a BU guy. Go BU.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much, Cori. We can't wait to talk to you again next week.
Have a good weekend. Happy Halloween, everybody.
All right. That is Coach Cori Hughes, the head coach of our women's basketball team. I'm going to go ahead now and bring in our producers, Joy Morelli and Mike DeFusco, to help close out the week.
Michael, you finally made it to the program.
And I love The Godfather now. That was the first thing I noticed when I came into the stream. But I did not have a good afternoon. If you can't tell, this side of my mouth's a little numb still from the filling that I got. That was my first filling today, and it was now I know
too much of that candy we were talking about yesterday.
Yeah, it's a good thing. That's exactly what it is. It was Halloween season, and this is my punishment. So I know the consequences of too much candy.
If you would come on 20 minutes ago, you actually would have sounded like Don Corleone because the mouth was all numbed up, right?
Exactly. I would have been talking out of this side of my mouth. But I'm also just came in from the freezing cold snow, so I'm probably a little jittery too. I still got my winter hat and my mask.
Joey, I think you've been on for most of the program, and Mike, you were able to catch some of the end. But any of your thoughts, off the top of what you were able to hear from our guests here today? I'll let Joey go first. The voice from the ether, Joey Morelli.
Ooh, I'm still a ghost. Yeah, I mean, everything Coach Hughes said is great, but I'll mention talking with Coach Klann about superstitions. I was surprised he didn't have worse ones. He was like, the worst one was the guy who would put on his clothes one at a time. I was like, oh, that's the most extreme. I was hoping something crazy.
We are a family program here, Joey, so I'm sure there are worse ones.
Yeah, but there are plenty of crazy family-friendly things. Like he has to put his clothes on in a certain order and then take them off and then put them on in a different order. I don't know. That's family-friendly.
Michael, any thoughts?
I just caught the last few minutes of the Cori Hughes interview, and I really like the highlights you were showing. But what team was that you guys were showing
Stanford.
there? Stanford, yeah.
Women's basketball.
Yeah, definitely one of the better teams. I remember the UConn team. That's the one when women's basketball was very popular, right? Yeah, that's the one we all remember. What was it, 90 straight games or something crazy like that?
Yeah, they're kind of one of those teams, though, where it's like the way people watch football when the Patriots are on, when they're good. Like everybody needs a team to root against. Like I think UConn started as a great story, and then the more and more like they just were the purely dominant team. People started tuning because they wanted to root against them. Like oh, I can't remember now. I'm drawing a blank. They lost in the title game a couple of years ago. Arike Wumawale. What team was she for? Oh, I can't remember. I know Coach Hughes, if she's
Oh, I know
still
you're talking about, yeah.
listening, she could drop that in the chat. But people root against UConn just as much as they root for them. So
Yeah.
a good villain is always good. Is always
Hey,
good in
if
sports.
Connecticut can be good for
100%.
something, I'm okay with it. That's like our one cool thing. Like
yeah,
everyone in
good college
Connecticut can band
basketball.
together over women's UConn was awesome.
Yeah. Well, there was the
Kemba
year
at
both the
UConn.
men and the women won the national championship at the same time. And I had
Yeah.
a cousin who was at UConn, and she said that was like the most bonkers week
Yeah,
ever on
It's
campus.
because the men's team is normally awful. I'll be honest. It was always like UConn recently way better. Like UConn used to be like you went to UConn and people would like trash on it, and now it's like, oh my god, UConn, like they're really good at everything. Like they're good at sports, they're good at
Thank
academics.
Kemba Walker and Shabazz Napier
Yeah.
for that, at least on the men's side. Anyways, Mike, I guess I'll ask you real quick because we asked this of pretty much everyone here today, and you're an athlete. Any sports superstitions? Do you have any superstitions, and what are some maybe of the extreme ones that you've seen in your playing time?
When I played, I never really, off the top of my head, I can't really think of too many. I just do the same thing every time I go up to the plate. I do the same cross the plate and tap the front of my cleat, but that's the only real superstition I ever had. I was never a very superstitious person. Personally, I think it's just, it's personal responsibility. You're going to have streaks, and it's, that was me, but I'll try to get back to you on that. We'll tease it.
All right.
I'll come back and think. Yeah, maybe it was just the guys I played with, but no superstitions that I would say were abnormal in my playing career.
Good. Hey, that's a good thing.
Right.
Fellas, hope you guys have a happy and safe Halloween, and can't wait to talk to you on Monday. We only will have one show before everybody's off at Salve on Election Day, so we're going to pump that message about voting as often as we can. If you have time this weekend, if you have a mail-in ballot, honestly, at this point, they're recommending it's better off if you just go either drop it off at a polling site or write to election officials, at an election office or one of the drop boxes. So if you have ballots that need to get delivered, do that sooner rather than later at this point. Better to hand deliver them to somebody than to stick them in the mail. So we just want to bring that up. Yes, vote. That is the big message here. So, hope you guys have a great weekend. Joey, have a happy Halloween.
Joey from Beyond the Grave.
Yeah. My computer from Beyond the Grave, really, almost.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what happened.
Fellas, great week, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Halloween, guys.
All right, that's Joey Morelli speaking to us from the ether, and Michael DeFusco. We had a great show today. Big thanks to our guests, Zech Klann, David Lunn, and Coach Cori Hughes of our women's basketball team. Hope you enjoyed this show. As always, have a happy and safe weekend and Halloween. Social distancing, hand washing, mask wearing. We want to keep that all up here on the Salve Regina campus. And like always, we're live every day, 3 to 4 p.m. here on the Salve Athletics Network, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope through Twitter. You can go find us there. Like, subscribe, and follow to get every single episode live or watch it after the fact, or subscribe to the Seahawk Talk podcast on your favorite podcast platform to never miss a show. That'll do it for today. Have a great weekend, everybody.
I'm Andy Pizzelli. Take it easy.